Beatrice Thompson was 73 the summer she climbed those attic stairs for the last time. It was July 12th, 2025. Her knees protested with every step, but the old cardboard box she was after wouldn't wait. Inside, nestled among faded photographs and moth-eaten scarves, was her 1965 diary. The leather was cracked, its silk ribbon frayed. She hadn't dared to open it since that day. July 12th, 1965. The day James vanished. Her fingers trembled as she untied the ribbon. Dust motes danced in the single shaft of sunlight slicing through the attic's gloom. She flipped past pressed flowers from their first date, a stub from a movie they saw, and pages filled with the breathless, hopeful dreams of a teenage girl in love. Then she stopped. The final entry. Her own handwriting, but frantic, desperate. He promised he'd come back from Vietnam. I'll wait forever. After that, only blank pages. She'd stopped writing when the official telegram came. Missing. Presumed dead. A long, weary sigh escaped her lips. Beatrice closed the diary. But then, on a sudden impulse she couldn't explain, she grabbed a pen from a nearby jar. Beneath her final entry from 60 years ago, she wrote, "I still miss you, James. Every single day." She shut the diary, leaving it on the dusty windowsill, and went downstairs to face the lonely quiet of her evening. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the attic window, falling directly on the closed diary. When Beatrice went to retrieve it, she froze. There was new ink on the page, right below what she'd written. It wasn't her writing. It was James's familiar, slanted scrawl. "I'm coming home today, Bea. Wait for me at the Oak." She dropped the pen she was still holding. Her hands flew to her mouth, shaking violently. Was she hallucinating? Was this some cruel trick of grief, her mind finally fracturing after all these years? She raced to the kitchen, fumbling for her phone, and called her sister, Ruth. "Ruth, the diary," he wrote back. On the other end of the line, Ruth laughed nervously. "Bea, honey, you're just tired. You've been through so much." But Beatrice knew. She knew his handwriting better than her own. She hadn't written that. Without another thought, she grabbed her car keys. She drove to the old oak tree at the edge of town, the same one where they had carved their initials inside a heart back in 1964. The letters B plus J were still there, softened by time but unmistakable. She sat on a thick, exposed root and waited. The sun climbed high in the sky. Hours passed. The world went on around her, but her gaze remained fixed on the empty road. Nothing. Disappointment, heavy and familiar, settled back into her chest. Just as she was about to give up and go home, convinced she was losing her mind, she heard a sound. A car door slamming. She looked up, and there he was. A man, older now, his face a roadmap of hardship and time. But his eyes? Those were James's eyes. He walked toward her, his steps hesitant. He was as old as she was, but it was him. "Bea?" he asked, his voice cracking with 60 years of silence. She couldn't speak. She just stared, her heart hammering against her ribs. He took another step closer. "It's me, Bea. It's James." She staggered, her legs giving way, and he lunged forward, catching her in a slow, desperate embrace. She felt the rough texture of his jacket, the solidness of his arms, and she finally let herself believe. He was real. He was home. Later, sitting in her sunlit kitchen, the story unfolded. He'd been a prisoner of war, 60 years swallowed by enemy camps, forgotten jungles, and a world that had moved on without him. He was finally released in 2024 as part of a final, quiet, diplomatic exchange. It took him a whole year to track her down, to find his way back to the only home he'd ever known. "But the diary," she whispered, her voice still hoarse with unshed tears. "How did you write in my diary?" He smiled, a tired, gentle smile that lit up his weathered face. He reached into his coat and pulled out a matching leather-bound book. His own diary, captured along with him all those years ago. He opened it to the last page. In his handwriting, dated from a lifetime ago, it read, "If I ever get home, the first thing I'll do is write in her diary to let her know I'm coming." From a Red Cross station just a few weeks prior, he had mailed his diary to himself, but to her address. He had no idea if she still lived there. It was a message in a bottle thrown into an ocean of time. By some impossible miracle of fate and postal service, it had arrived just yesterday. The day she decided to write in her diary again for the first time in 60 years. The ink wasn't a ghost. It wasn't magic. It was just timing. Perfect. Impossible timing. They spent the next few years filling in the blank pages of both their diaries, together. They wrote about his captivity and her loneliness. They wrote about the child they never had and the life they would have lived. He moved into the house that had been waiting for him. They danced in the living room to old 1965 records, their movements slow and careful, but their hearts light. They planted new roses under the old oak tree. One night, Beatrice wrote, "Thank you for coming back to me." The next morning, she found his reply written just beneath hers. "I never left your heart." Beatrice passed away at 89, and James followed her a few years later, at 91. They say they died peacefully, holding hands. Their diaries, intertwined and filled to the last page, were donated to the local library. On the very final page, written in two shaky but distinct hands, are the words, "Love writes tomorrow, even when we can't." Some stories don't truly end. They just wait for the right page to be turned. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing for more tales just like this one.